Strange Tales from a Chinese Studio, Story 56.
You know that exact moment. You're sitting across from a friend, maybe having a coffee, and they lean in, lower their voice, and ask to borrow some money.
Oh, yeah. The classic awkward favor.
Right. And you hand over the cash, and instantly this invisible timer starts ticking. Days go by, then weeks. They're posting pictures of a nice dinner out, but your money, not a word.
Yeah, and you usually end up just, eating the cost to save the friendship.
Exactly. You eat the cost, but you never really forget it.
Yeah.
Well, neither does the universe.
Definitely not in this text, anyway.
Right. Because today we're exploring a centuries-old Chinese short story titled The Lame Donkey Pays a Debt.
Such a great title.
It really is. It comes from the legendary collection called Strange Tales from a Chinese Studio, and it basically takes that universally frustrating experience of an unreturned loan and spins it into a story about karma, reincarnation, and really terrifyingly precise cosmic accounting. And that brings us to the two central figures of this specific tale. We have Li, who is a scholarly, honorable man of means, and his neighbor, Wang Zuo.
Right, the neighbor.
Yeah, and Wang lives on Li's property as a hired hand, but he is notoriously terrible at farming. He's a bit of a slacker.
They put it mildly.
Yeah, his family is just perpetually on the brink of starvation. And because Li is positioned as this paragon of virtue, he gives Wang Zhu small, daily handouts of food.
Just enough to keep the man and his family alive, right?
Exactly. Day in and day out.
Well, in classical Chinese philosophy, Li is demonstrating the absolute ideal of benevolence here. Supporting a destitute neighbor with daily scoops of grain is how one actively cultivates virtue.
So he's doing the right thing.
Oh, absolutely. He's fulfilling a social and moral obligation that would have been highly praised by the society of his time.
See, I look at Li handing out these daily rations and, I don't know, I can't help but view it through a slightly cynical, modern lens.
How so?
I mean, is Li actually acting out of pure compassion, or is he just like hoarding good karma points? It almost feels transactional.
I see what you mean.
Like he's using Wang Zuo's poverty to build his own earthly and spiritual reputation as the ultimate good guy.
Well, you are applying a very modern framework to classical Chinese thought there. But it's a valid tension to point out.
Right.
However, the text does suggest Li's compassion is genuine. The problem isn't his motivation. The problem is the structural reality of their dynamic.
Because it doesn't actually fix anything.
Exactly. A daily scoop of grain prevents starvation, but it doesn't change Wang's material condition. It just maintains this persistent imbalance between them.
Which inevitably leads to a breaking point.
It always does.
Yeah. Wang Zhu realizes that waking up every day waiting for a handful of food just isn't a sustainable existence. He decides he needs to break the cycle.
So he makes a big move.
A huge move. He approaches life with a massive request, a loan of 1 pick of green beans.
And for context, a pickle is a historical unit of weight. We're talking about a massive, heavy sack of beans.
Right, like roughly equivalent to 100 caddies or over 100 pounds of beans.
This isn't just dinner for the night.
No, not at all. Wang intends to use this massive volume of beans as capital to start a small business and pull himself out of poverty.
And Li, staying true to his benevolent reputation, just hands over the beans.
Okay, let's unpack this for a second. Wang Zhu is basically that one friend who always asks you to spot them for a coffee, but suddenly asks you to act as the angel investor for their tech startup.
That is a perfect analogy. And by funding Wang's attempted agency, Li radically changes the nature of their relationship.
Yeah, they aren't just neighbor and charity case anymore.
Exactly. They are now bound by a significant financial contract.
A contract that Wang immediately breaches.
Of course.
A whole year passes, and Wang's business venture is a spectacular failure. He has completely squandered the green beans.
Every last one.
The capital is gone, and he has absolutely nothing to repay Li with. He is right back at square one, completely impoverished.
And this is where Li does something that seems incredibly magnanimous.
Right. Seeing Wang's total destitution, Li decides to completely forgive the debt.
Just wipes the slate clean.
Yeah, he doesn't take Wang to the local magistrate. He doesn't demand indentured servitude. He just legally and verbally lets it go.
And on an earthly level, the dispute is resolved, right? The creditor has exercised ultimate compassion, and the debtor is legally free.
Seems like a happy ending.
It does. But the core thesis of Pu Songli's work is that Human forgiveness is entirely impotent when it comes to cosmic physics.
Okay, let's break down the mechanics of that. I'm thinking of karma here, not as some mystical point system, but almost like a closed thermodynamic system.
Oh, I like where this is going.
Yeah, so the first law of thermodynamics states that energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transferred.
Mhm.
In this story, wealth, the one pickle of green beans, acts as that energy.
Right.
When Lee hands that massive amount of capital over to Wang, a massive transfer of energy occurs. When Wang squanders it, the energy doesn't disappear, it just disperses.
Exactly.
So when Lee says, "I forgive you," he's just slapping a human social label on the situation. The label changes, but the mass of that unresolved energy is still sitting there on the cosmic ledger.
That is a brilliant way to conceptualize it. Lai possesses the legal authority to forgive the earthly contract, but he lacks the cosmological authority to rewrite the laws of physics.
Because he's just a guy.
Right. The imbalance remains in the universe, and the universe detests an imbalance. Nature is compelled to correct it.
And since earthly forgiveness doesn't fix the math, the universe has to step in directly.
And it does, 3 years later.
Yeah, 3 years after the loan is forgiven, Lai is spending some quiet time studying at a local temple. He falls asleep and has this vivid, hyper-realistic dream.
And who shows up?
Wang Zuo, who, by the way, has actually passed away by this point.
Right, he's a ghost.
Yeah, the ghost of Wang appears and announces that he has come to repay the debt for the green beans. Lai, still playing the role of the benevolent forgiver, just brushes the ghost off.
He essentially says, I gave you countless handouts of food over the years. Why are you hung up on this one specific loan? Just let it go.
But Wang Zuo's response in this dream provides the philosophical nucleus of the entire story.
It really does. The ghost argues a profoundly nuanced point about the nature of obligation and human labor.
What does he say?
He tells Le that if a person performs actual physical work, even if they do a terrible job and they happen to be wildly overpaid for that labor, they do not incur a karmic debt.
Wait, really?
Mm.
So if someone spends an hour lazily pulling a few weeds in a garden, and the homeowner foolishly pays them 1,000 pieces of gold, the worker doesn't owe the universe a refund.
Exactly.
But Wang argues that charity is entirely different. Why does the universe differentiate so strictly between being overpaid for bad labor and receiving a pure unearned loan?
Well, it comes down to the concept of agency and exchange. When you perform labor, you are expending your own energy. You are injecting your agency into the world.
Okay, I'm tracking.
An exchange takes place. The market value of that exchange might be absurdly skewed by a foolish employer, but the metaphysical circuit is closed. Energy was offered and energy was received.
But unearned charity operates in a vacuum.
Exactly that. Pure, unearned financial assistance, especially a massive injection of capital like a pickle of green beans, involves no exchange of agency from the recipient.
It creates a metaphysical void.
Yes, the recipient absorbs mass without offering any friction or energy in return. Wang tells Li that this void exerts a terrifying gravity on the soul.
Wow.
A worker overpaid in gold is free, but a man who accepts an unearned massive loan is spiritually anchored to that exact value.
So what does this all mean? Is Wang actually arguing that charity is a cosmic trap?
In a way, yes.
I mean, by trying to be a saint and forgiving the debt, Li actually condemned his neighbor. Li thought he was setting Wang free, but he unknowingly left Wang trapped in a state of spiritual bankruptcy.
The universe doesn't care about Li's good intentions. The unearned mass of those green beans requires Wang's soul to balance the equation.
It's kind of terrifying. It forces us to heavily scrutinize the hidden costs of generosity.
Absolutely. Receiving generosity without the ability to balance the exchange isn't a gift. It is a burden that binds you across lifetimes.
Which brings up a massive logistical problem for Wang Zhu.
Oh, a huge problem.
Yeah, I mean, he's standing there in the dream, acknowledging the absolute gravity of this debt. But he's dead. How does a ghost liquidate a financial asset?
You cannot wire spectral currency into a living person's earthly bank account.
Exactly. So how does he do it?
Well, to repay a physical earthly debt, you require a physical earthly form. The mechanism of repayment here is a literal demotion down the karmic ladder.
A demotion.
Right. Wang Zhu must return to the physical realm in a form capable of generating the exact amount of labor or capital he squandered.
And Li discovers this the very moment he wakes up from the dream.
The timing is incredible.
He opens his eyes, and almost immediately his servants rush in from the stables with news. A female donkey on Li's property has just birthed a surprisingly large, robust foal.
And Li's mind immediately races back to the dream.
Because the timing defies coincidence. So he decides to run a highly specific empirical test.
I love this part.
He walks out to the stable, observes the newborn donkey, and casually calls out the name Wang Zuo.
And the animal's reaction confirms the terrifying reality of the universe's mechanics.
It responds.
Instantly. The foal perks up, becomes excited, and trots directly over to Li, responding to its human name with complete comprehension.
Oh man, that is a dark, tragic irony.
It really is.
I mean, Wang Zuo asked for that massive loan of green beans because he wanted to be an entrepreneur. He wanted to escape physical toil and start a business.
Right.
And now, because he failed to balance that equation, he has been stripped of his humanity and reduced to a literal beast of burden designed solely to labor for his creditor.
The universe strips away his human agency because he failed to utilize it properly in his past life. He is now simply a biological asset on Li's ledger.
That is heavy. So Li accepts this surreal reality. He keeps the name Wang Zuo for the donkey, and over the years, the animal grows into a magnificent, incredibly strong creature.
A prime specimen.
Yeah. Eventually, Li has to travel to a place called Qingzhou, and he decides to ride this specific donkey for the journey.
And while he is in Qingzhou, the story introduces a new variable.
Right. A local eunuch from the wealthy Heng Principality happens to spot the donkey.
And he's completely captivated by it.
Yeah, he immediately offers to purchase the donkey from Li for an exorbitant premium price.
Now, to understand the stakes of this moment, you have to understand the specific role of eunuchs in imperial China.
Okay, lay it on us.
These were men who were often placed in the inner courts, serving in close physical proximity to the emperor and his family.
So they had a lot of access.
Massive access.
Yeah.
And because they were outside the traditional aristocratic bureaucracy, they often amassed staggering amounts of wealth and unofficial political power.
Wow.
They controlled shadow economies and had purchasing power that absolutely dwarfed local magistrates. When this eunuch offers a premium price, it represents a life-changing windfall.
Here's where it gets really interesting. It's like Li's invested in a penny stock, the green beans, and it's about to hit a massive peak.
Exactly.
He is staring at an incredibly lucrative return on investment. He fronted a single sack of beans years ago, and now a wealthy court insider is offering him a fortune for the reincarnated asset.
But the sale never finalizes.
Right. Right before they can shake hands and exchange the currency, Lear receives an urgent message.
An emergency.
Yeah, a sudden family emergency back home that he absolutely cannot ignore. He is forced to abandon the negotiation and rush back, completely missing out on this massive payout.
And what's fascinating here is you have to look closely at the mechanics of why that interruption occurred.
Because it wasn't just bad luck.
Exactly. From Li's perspective, it feels like terrible timing. But from the perspective of cosmic physics, it was a necessary intervention.
Why?
Well, consider what would have happened if Li had accepted the eunuch's gold.
He would have extracted 10 or 20 times the value of the original green beans.
Precisely. And in doing so, Li would have instantly created a massive new imbalance. The universe demands strict one-to-one equilibrium, not human profit margins.
Oh, I see.
If Li had walked away with the fortune, he would be heavily overcharging Wang Zu's soul. The cosmic ledger would violently swing in the other direction.
And suddenly, Li would be the one in debt for exploiting his former neighbor.
Exactly. The sudden family emergency wasn't bad luck. It was the universe actively stepping in to prevent a new karmic violation from taking place.
That's incredible. The universe is acting as a flawless regulatory body. It refuses to let Li engage in predatory lending, even accidentally. It forces the transaction to remain pure.
But because Li missed that sale, the equation remains unsolved.
Right, the donkey hasn't actually generated any liquid capital for Li yet. The debt still exists.
Which means the universe must deploy another mechanism to extract the exact value owed. And it does so through an act of apparent chaos.
Right, because a year after the missed sale in Qingzhou, the donkey is sharing a stable with a stallion.
And out of nowhere,
The stallion viciously attacks. It bites the donkey's leg bone with such intense force that the bone completely shatters.
just a brutal injury.
Yeah, the donkey is rendered permanently lame. It can no longer carry cargo, it can't be ridden, and it is entirely useless as a beast of burden. Lai is left with a broken asset that seems to hold zero value.
Now, if you view the world without the lens of cosmic accounting, this is just a senseless tragedy. A valuable animal ruined by a random biological instinct.
But the text is about to prove that random biological instinct does not exist.
Not in Pu Songling's universe.
Because shortly after the attack, a local veterinarian, referred to in the text as a cow doctor, arrives at Lai's property.
And he has a proposal.
Yeah, he inspects the shattered leg of the donkey and makes a very specific, highly calculated business proposal. He tells Lee, "Give this animal to me. Let me take it back to my clinic. I will absorb the cost of feeding and nursing it."
Which is quite an offer for a lame animal.
Totally. And the vet says, "It's a long shot, but if the animal miraculously heals, I will sell it at the market, and you and I will split whatever profits we make 50-50.
And Lei has absolutely no leverage in this situation.
None. The animal is a total loss to him in its current state.
Exactly. A 50% share of a potential future sale is infinitely better than holding on to a permanent liability. So he agrees to the veterinarian's terms.
Months pass. The veterinarian puts in the labor, nursing the donkey back to a passable state of health. And against all odds, the animal recovers enough to be deemed sellable.
A minor miracle in itself.
Right. So the vet takes the lame donkey to the local market and manages to find a buyer. The final sale price negotiated at the market is exactly 1,800 coins.
1,800 coins.
Yep. And the vet, honoring his earthly contract, takes the money straight to Lai and hands over half the profits. Half of 1,800 is 900 coins.
And this is the moment where the veil is pulled back for Lai.
Oh man, it's such an aha moment. Lai is sitting in his home, physically holding these 900 coins. He stares at the currency, and a sudden, chilling realization washes over him.
He connects the dots.
He casts his memory back years and years ago to the exact day Wang Zhu stood in his courtyard and asked for a loan. He remembers the market price of green beans on that specific day.
The math is inescapable if we connect this to the bigger picture.
Those 900 coins in his hand perfectly, down to the decimal point, match the exact historical market value of the 1 pickle of green beans he originally loaned out.
The implications of that calculation are just staggering. It reveals that the universe's accounting system operates with absolute, terrifying precision.
It wasn't just a general settling of debts. The universe held the exact value of those green beans in escrow through the physical body of a donkey.
It's unbelievable.
Look at the sheer mind-bending complexity of the mechanisms required to balance this specific ledger. A man had to die. He had to be stripped of his humanity and reincarnated as a beast. He had to be recognized by his former creditor through an empirical test.
Right.
He had to be shielded from a highly lucrative sale to a wealthy eunuch by a perfectly timed family emergency. He had to be violently maimed by a stallion.
Yes, the stallion.
He had to be acquired by a veterinarian willing to propose a highly specific 50-50 equity split. And finally, market conditions had to dictate a sale price of exactly 1,800 coins, just so the 50% payout would yield exactly 900 coins.
It completely dismantles the human concept of random chance. When the stallion shattered the donkey's leg, it wasn't a tragedy, it was a surgical correction to a mathematical equation.
That's crazy to think about.
The universe orchestrated an extraordinarily elaborate chain of events over the course of decades just to ensure that two neighbors settled a loan of beans.